Down goes the number one team in the Big 12. Another packed weekend of action in a conference nobody can figure out. Let's start not with Texas Tech. Let's get there. Let's just go ahead and work our way up. A couple of 9 a.m. games on the slate, at least local time for us here. Houston taking down Arizona 31-28. Arizona jumping out to a lead. Houston then storming back, taking a 2-touchdown lead before Arizona stormed back and tied it up. Houston with a walk-off field goal. Houston now 6-1 overall, 3-1 in the Big 12. Only loss is to Texas Tech.
Yeah, Arizona is such a confusing team because you think they have a lot of weapons offensively, and then they did all disappear. Trey Spivey starts the game with a one catch for 70 yards and a touchdown, and that's all he did. Like, they're a confusing team. Fafita's a really good quarterback. Do you know what he was for completion percentage today? 24 of 26.
Jeez.
Wasn't enough somehow. I don't know how that team doesn't win more games, and I don't know how Houston is still 6-1, but we'll see next week.
Houston has played well. I have your answer on Arizona football.
Okay.
They're not good. Now, I think they have good players, and I think they have talented players. I think they can win football games, but they are so poorly coached. They cannot win road games under Brent Brennan, and that was yet another theme this week where they should have won that game, or at least it should have gone to overtime, and Houston was able to storm back. Houston now takes on Arizona State, who we'll talk about later this weekend or next weekend on the road. That's a really big matchup if Houston wants to reassert themselves in the Big 12 championship chase. The other game that started earlier today was the shootout that we expected, although it got off to a slow start. TCU takes down Baylor to move to 5-2 on the season, 2-2 in the Big 12. Baylor still 2-2 in the Big 12, but 4-3 on the season. 21-point second quarter for Josh Hoover and company to take down Sawyer Robertson and the Baylor Bears. These are still two teams that feels like they're fighting for that middle ground in the Big 12, but TCU gains it advantage this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, they're both kind of who everybody thought they were. Big offensive weapons in the air, and with their quarterbacks, and two defenses that are just Swiss cheese. Sawyer Robinson threw the ball 52 times today.
That's just what he does. That's 25. Sawyer ball.
Like, they both do not play ethical hoops. Like, it's gross.
Just aired out.
It's gross.
It is gross. Good game from Jordan Dwyer, 7 receptions, 111 yards, and a touchdown. And then on the ground, Barnes for TCU, 25 carries, 106 yards, and 2 touchdowns. TCU is one of those teams that on any given day they can win, but also they could get 50 points hung on their head pretty easily. But they didn't. They took down Baylor and company. Speaking of nearly hanging 50 on someone, UCF, West Virginia, yikes, down 13-45 on the road to the Knights. The UCF, they're a team. They're not good. They're not like the worst team in the Big 12, but they're still a bottom 4 team.
Yeah, the worst team in the Big 12 is currently playing in Oklahoma State, and we'll get to that later. West Virginia is closer to the worst team in the Big 12. UCF probably on that outside looking down, I guess. Rich Rod is poor Rod. This team stinks. And
poor Rod, I like that.
That experience over in Morgantown is just not working, sadly.
It's the first year.
Yeah.
Give them a little time. They don't have a quarterback.
No.
Give them a little time. I have faith that 7 to 8 years from now, West Virginia will be good again.
I don't. I have none.
Yeah, not great for them. But honestly, that game doesn't really have any Big 12 implications or really overarching implications at all. Unlike the only game that we haven't talked about so far that has actually been completed as we are recording this after Arizona State takes down the number 7 team in the country, the runaway favorite in the Big 12,
what a
26-22. Shane, I think the thing is, for those who are just checking in on this game and they look at the box score, they look at everything, it's Arizona State won and beat the number 7 team in the country, but still felt like they left a lot on the table that they have room to improve through the rest of the season.
Yeah, what kind of stinks is the box score watching, and we might see that reflected more so in the top 25 poll. I don't think we'll see that in the CFP committee. But when you look at this score, you don't think dominance. This was a dominant win up until what was almost a late collapse by Arizona State. Yes, Will Hammond was the starting quarterback. Yes, there was an injury to a star receiver or tight end. He's a receiver. Terrence Carter's a
Yeah,
receiver.
he's tight end. But yeah.
It doesn't matter. This ASU team held the number one offense in the country to damn near 7 points until, again, a late collapse. Into the fourth quarter, Will Hammond had 56 passing yards. This offense had basically nothing to show for outside of one ridiculous drop in the bucket. Arizona State's defense showed up and showed out today, and Jordan Tyson and Sam Levitt once again proved why they're the best wide receiver quarterback duo in the country.
Yeah, and Sam Levitt not 100% for those who are keeping track. Missed last week's blowout to Utah, and then comes this week and is like, I would say at best case scenario, 70%, realistically 55 to 65%. Jordan Tyson also suffering hopefully a cramp, but
he's fine.
You never know. He was limping around later in the game with that hamstring. Also, the emergence of Jaron Hamilton, the Alabama wide receiver, the first non-Jordan Tyson receiver to crack 100 yards this season for Arizona State. 3 receptions for $1.01, 101 in the air. If Arizona State can find a legitimate second receiving option in Jaron Hamilton, that's going to be really great because they need all the help they can get on offense, considering that they were without starting left guard Ben Coleman this game and will be for the rest of the season. We're starting a sophomore at center, and we're rotating in a true freshman at left guard against the best defensive line in the Big 12 and one of the best defensive lines in the country. An absolute gutsy win from Kenny and Arizona State. They go on to play Houston next weekend, and now they do continue to control their destiny, Shane, of potentially being back-to-back Big 12 champions in as many years as the conference.
Yeah, and you look at the schedule ahead, it gets a lot easier. That's why this win was so pivotal, and that's why we talked about it being so pivotal for so long. You got Houston at home, who, by all accounts, is a good football team. Not saying they're not. Definitely an easier test than number 7 Texas Tech at home next week. Then you're at Iowa State, which is a revenge game. That game's going to be scary going to Ames. They're banged up now. They could get healthy by that point. That game's in 2 weeks. And then you finish with West Virginia, Colorado, and Arizona. 3 very, very, very beatable opponents. ASU should be back in the Big 12 championship if they handle business.
Yeah, if they handle business. Now, they'll need some luck to go their way because every team does, right? Including a couple games that haven't finished yet at this time of recording. At halftime right now, Cincinnati 28-10 over Oklahoma State.
I do want to correct us really fast. They don't actually control their own destiny because Cincinnati is still undefeated in the conference.
So Cincinnati's still undefeated in the conference, and Cincinnati is going to remain undefeated in the conference, barring a miraculous comeback from Oklahoma State. By the way, BYU also undefeated in the conference as well. Arizona State does not play either of those teams. I think BYU-Utah is where we really have to focus. That game also at halftime, BYU up 10-7. Let's explore both possible scenarios here. If you are Arizona State, you want BYU to win because Utah holds the tiebreaker over you and you don't want them contending. You just need one of BYU or Cincinnati to lose 2 games in conference in order for them to not be the number 2 team in the conference, or you have to get some weird tiebreakers there.
Yeah.
You can't have both of them remain undefeated. Because if Cincinnati and BYU remain undefeated, you are just on the outside looking in.
Cincinnati still has to go to Rice Eccles. They have Baylor at home next week, and then they also have a home game against BYU, and they do have to go to TCU at the end of the season as well. So their schedule is, and anybody can beat anybody. So, I mean, it's too early to be looking at that right now, but ASU definitely put themselves in a good spot after this win.
Right now, BYU up 10-7 over Utah. If BYU does get that win, they'll likely move to a borderline top 10 team in the country, which we've seen this movie before. But still impressive for a BYU team that a lot of people, including myself, were down on going into the year. If Utah wins, Utah will move themselves up into the teens, maybe mid-teens after beating BYU, because we have seen some movement in the top 25 just so far today. If Utah wins, that is tough for Arizona State because you are still then tied with one Big 12 loss with a team that has beat you directly head-to-head, and you're going to be rooting for Utah to lose some games moving forward because the only way that Arizona State can get in over Utah is to have a better record than them because they're not going to get in via tiebreaker because they lost that head-to-head matchup. But we will see BYU or Utah winning, Cincinnati winning, even Arizona State winning. The reality is it is in the middle of October. And if you told everybody in the middle of October last year that Arizona State would be in the Big 12 championship, they would have called you crazy. So a lot can still happen in the Big 12, and PHNX Sun Devils will continue to break it down right here. We've got live shows covering a now presumably once again top 25 team in the country after
Better
beating
be.
number 7 Texas Tech. We'll be covering them every single day here with live shows. Plus, we have pre and post game shows for every single game. Watch along for road games as Arizona State leads up to a 6-1 Houston this weekend, continuing to fight for that Big 12 championship spot. What do you think about the state of the Big 12? Let us know who you think ends up in that Big 12 championship below, and we'll talk to you all again very soon.